Google Meet, WhatsApp, Twitch, Skype. Have you ever stopped to think about how these apps handle real-time voice and video calls or live streaming? In this tutorial, you will learn how to build a real-time voice and video calling application using Next.js powered by Zegocloud. We'll begin by creating the homepage of the app, then the authentication, and finally implement Zegocloud to bring our Zoom clone to life, fully functional and ready for real-time communication. Are you ready? So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Okay, so we are going to start by creating a directory right here in our files directory. So I'm going to create here a new folder that the name is going to be Zoom clone. Okay, so it's going to be Zoom clone, and inside of here we're going to open our terminal and we're going to say code dot. All right, so this is going to open for us our Visual Studio Code, and we got it right here. All right, so now we are going to open our terminal and we are going to say npx create next app and dot in the end. So it's going to create in the current directory. It's going to ask us if we want to use TypeScript. I'm going to say yes, ESLint also, Tailwind CSS. I don't want any src directory. I'm going to be using the app router, and the turbo pack doesn't really matter, and I would like to use the import alias. All right, so as you know, this is going to take a bit of time, so I will be right back when it ends. After a couple of time, we finally done installing the npm, the Next.js app, and I'm going to open this live so we can see it working. All right, so when you head over to localhost 3000, that's what you should be seeing. And for now, I'm just gonna remove everything that we have on div right here, and let me put the div right back, but now this time it's going to be really empty. And here is where we're going to start making some changes. All right, so you can see that the layout comes with a default font, which is this one, but for this project we're going to use a different font. All right, so we gotta import this from Google, and the name of the font that we are going to be using is Baloo 2. All right, so now just gotta change this gist and this other one by this one. This one we are not gonna really use, so I can just remove it. We are just going to be left with this one. Okay, so if you want, you can just change it here, the name to Balloon Sense, just to be more semantic, and also here Baloo, that it's the name of the font, and we can remove the rest here. Okay, so here the title for this layout is going to be Zoom clone video and live streaming service. There we go. We don't need a description, and I think that's all for now. And when you come back to the app, everything is going to be the same. All right, so now you're going to head over to global.css, that's that file right here, and you're going to go to, and you need to go to the project assets that are going to live on the description. You just gotta access the load the folder and unzip the folder, and you're going to find this global.css file. All right, so you just gotta open it. And copy the content that is inside, and you just gotta paste it right here. All right, so this is just for theming and colors for the app. All right, the next thing that we need to do is go here in the root of our project and create here a new file, which is going to be tailwind.config.ts. all right, so again, you need to go to the assets folder and open. You just need to go to the assets folder and copy the content that is inside of tailwind.config.ts. all right, after that we are almost done with the configurations. All right, so with that we can basically move on to the actual layout, and we are going to make the home page. In our app we can have two types of pages. The pages can either be private or public. All right, so in the in this case the home page is going to be public so everybody can see it, okay? And when I say public or private, when it's private, only the authenticated users can see it, all right? And when I mean public, it's either the authenticated users or the non-authenticated users, okay? So right here on the app, we are going to create here a new folder, which is going to be public, all right? And inside of public, we are going to create the home page. And make sure you put this inside of brackets, either or that's not gonna work, all right? And this page that you see here, you just gotta move it inside of home, all right? Make sure that this is inside of home. If you want to be 100% sure, you can delete the page right here and click here above home and create the page.tsx, all right? So with this page created, we can now start creating it. Just by giving public or home here doesn't make a page private or public. To actually make this work, we're going to do that later. It's by authentication with Clerk that we're going to do it in a minute, all right? But for now, let's just keep going, okay? So here on the div, we're going to have a class name of height of screen. So what we are using here is Tailwind that give us possibility to give classes right on here on the JSX, which is really great. So here I'm basically saying that I want the height to be 100% of the screen, okay? All right, so just to keep things simple, here inside of components, I'm going to create a new folder which is going to be components, all right? And inside of components, I'm going to create a new component, which I'm going to create a new folder which is going to be hero. Inside of hero, I'm going to have the index.tsx, all right? And the name of the function is going to be hero. And you might be asking why I'm not creating the components in the root folder. It's just because this hero is only going to be used on the home page, so it doesn't make sense to be public access, okay? So now let's make sure that we have this hero imported, right? So let me just import it real quick and get to this file, all right? So the hero is going to be fairly easy. We're just going to have here a div, and this div is going to have a class name of flex, item center, gap of 20, and height of full, all right? And then p of 8, which is going to add some space inside. And then inside of this div, we're going to create a new one, and this new div is going to have a class name of flex column and gap of 4. So we're just creating a column and spacing by 16 pixels each element that is inside of this column, okay? So the first thing that I want to have is the h4, which is a high text, all right? And then I'm going to have here a class name which is going to be text 6L to give the size of the text that we want, and then font semi-bold, that is to add some boldness, okay? So inside of here, we're just going to say find what you need when you need it, like this. So like this, and then below here we're just going to have a span that is going to be AI companion, just like so. And right here we're going to have the text primary. All right, so it seems like our CSS is not actually working. As you can see, this is not supposed to be the font that we were supposed to get, right? So let me just close here the server and reopen again to see if that going to solve our problem. So it actually didn't, so it might be something in the way that we configured our project. So let me just look for it. So here I'm going to just open new terminal because there are still some dependencies that we still have to install in order this to work. So I'm going to say here npm install /dev, and this is going to be tailwind animate css, just like this. There we go. And when this is installed, you can immediately see that this starts working. If it didn't for you, make sure that you have this installed. So go to your package.json and make sure that this dependency is here, and then just close the server and reopen again. All right, so we can start seeing the shape that this is taking. So let's go back to our hero and keep making the changes. Okay, so here just below here the h4 we're going to create a paragraph, and this paragraph is going to just have a class name of textxl that's going to make this extra large size, and inside of this paragraph we are going to say accomplish more with Zoom Workplace UAI first work platform featuring AI Companion 2.0 included at no extra cost, just like this. All right, nice. And below this p tag we are going to have another div, and now this div is going to have a class name of flex item center and gap of 3. All right, and here we are going to just place our buttons. Okay, and actually before placing the buttons there's one other thing that we need to install, which is ChatCM. So open a new tab and search ChatCM. If you never heard of it, it basically is a library that comes with pre-made components that we can change if we want to. Okay, so head over to docs and go to Next.js, and it's going to give you this. Make sure that you select the npm tab and copy here this command. All right, so this command is going to basically install the ChatCM library for us, and you can hit enter. So it's going to ask you a couple of questions. And the first one is the base color that you want to use. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to use the neutral, and you just gotta hit enter to install it real quick for us. All right. Okay, so now that we installed the library, we can use it. Okay, so I'm going to just say npx ChatCM latest add button. Okay, so look what this is going to do. We hit this command, and what it's going to do is going to install a button component for us in our project directory. Okay, so just look. So it created here a components folder, and inside of it created a button component, as you can see. All right, and this button component, we can use it wherever we want. Okay, so let's go to hero, and here inside of this div we are going to use, so here I can use the button that I just imported. All right, so let me just say here plans and pricing, and you can see the button showing up right here. Okay, just below here, down below of this button, we can create a new one, but now this one is going to say discover Zoom Workplace. All right, and now this is going to have a different variant. It means a different version of this button. So I can say here ghost, and you can see that this is going to change the styles. All right, so below here, so in this last div we just need to go one step above, and we can add here an image. All right, so I'm going to say here image, there we go, and the source, make sure you import it, it's coming from Next.js, and the source is going to be hero/image.png. okay, the width is going to be 100, and the height is also going to be 100, and the out is going to be hero image. Okay, now it's going to give you something like this, but you cannot see the image because we have not put it on our project. And one more thing here is when you need it width, you need to add here the width word, and then open here the curly braces and add a space, so this is going to break the line and go right here. Nice. So now we just need to import the image so we can actually see it. So make sure you go here to public, and you remove every single thing that you see here. To make the same thing as I did, you select the first element here, and then with shifts, while click on shift, you're going to the last one, and then you can click here delete, which is going to delete everything at once. So here on the assets folder, you're going to find here this public folder where you can see here 2 images. All right, so you just gotta copy them, okay, select them both and put them inside of public, just like so. All right, so now if you refresh the page, you should see the image showing up. Really nice. Okay, so we are actually done with the hero. We can move to the next part, which is the navbar. Okay, navbar is also going to be fairly simple to build it. All right, so now I can just close everything, and also here, so it gets more organized. All right, so the navbar I'm actually going to create here because I'm going to use it across the app. All right, so here inside of components, I'm going to create a new file, which is going to be navbar, and then I'm going to hit slash and then index.tsx. It's a really nice trick that I use to create files inside of folders real quick. Okay, so you say the name of the file and then slash, you say the name of the folder and then slash the name of the file. Okay, so now I can create a RFC. Okay, so the name of this component is going to be navbar, like this, and I can go to app and then public and then page and use the navbar. Okay, so this is going to be a header, all right, instead of a div, and this header is going to have a class name of flex items center, justify between, px of 4, py of 3, border bottom, like this, bg of white, and z of 10, and then shrink. Okay, so inside of header, we're going to create a new div, which is going to have a class name of flex items center and gap of 6. Okay, so we are centering everything and having some gap of 6. All right, and here we're going to have the image, which is going to be the logo. So make sure you import this from next image, and then the source is going to be slash zoom slash logo dot svg, like this. The out is going to be logo, and the width is going to be 100, and the height should be 40. Also make sure you add a class name of object contain, which is going to contain the image proportions wherever the width are. All right, so doing this, you should see here the zoom logo showing up. All right, so for now it's going to be it in this div, and we just need to go here down here and say div right here, and then add the class name of flex items center, like so, and gap of 4. Okay, so here is basically where we are going to show up the links. Okay, so here I'm going to create a UL, which is on list, and here we're going to create the links that are not going to be actually clickable. Okay, just for mocking, and the links are going to be products, solutions, resources, and plans and prices. Okay, so here inside of UL, we just gotta add a class name of flex items center, gap of 6, font semi-bold, and text muted foreground. Okay, and we can also say here hidden, and then medium, and flex. So basically this is saying there's going to be hidden on the small devices, and on the medium device is going to be visible. All right, okay, so here inside of UL we can map through the links. So let's say links.map, and then link, for each link I'm going to show up li. Okay, and this li is going to just render the link. Okay, and the key is going to be link. really nice. So now you can immediately see here the links showing up. So here below the UL, I'm going to create here another div, and this is going to be the last one, I promise. And this div is going to say flex items center and gap of 2. Okay, and then here I'm going to create a button, and this button is going to say get in contact with the sales team. Okay, and below this button we're going to create here a link coming from next link. Make sure you import that, and the href is going to be /get started. Inside of this link we're going to have a button, and now this button is going to say sign in. All right, so make sure that this button, the button that is above, has a variant of outline like so. Nice. So I just want to show this div if the user is not signed in. Okay, so here I'm going to create a temporary variable which is going to be show profile, which is going to be false because the user is not signed in. And I'm going to cut this, so use Ctrl X, and then I'm going to say show profile. So if show profile, I'm going to show the profile, but for now it's going to be an empty div. And if it's not to show the profile, then I'm going to show here these buttons. All right, so it's going to be something like this. This is going to be our home page. You can see the only button that is going to actually work here is here, this one. So now it's time to integrate authentication to the app, which is going to be fairly easy too. All right, so now to set up authentication, you need to create here a new tab and head over to Clerk. So you just need to type Clerk on your search engine and then click on the first link, or you just can go to clerk.com. Okay, so here you just need to click on start building, and it's going to take you to this page, and we just need to follow the steps. Okay, so here are showing us the steps that we need to follow. The first one we already did, which is install the Next.js framework, but now we just need to install the Clerk library. Okay, so we need to say npm install Clerk /Next.js. Really nice. So now that we installed the Clerk library, you can head over to your root file structure, and you can create here a new file which is going to be middleware.ts. So middleware is basically a service that's going to run in every request. So let's say that we are going to a page. So here is the user, and the user is going to a page. Before the user actually goes to the page, is going to run the middleware. All right. So let's say that I want the middleware to block the user to go to this page if he is not authenticated. All right. So the user is going to try to go to the page, but as this middleware is running on the middle, it's going to check if the user is actually authenticated, and if it's not, then it's going to block the access. All right. So this is exactly what we're going to do here. Okay. Luckily for us, Clerk is going to take care of everything for us. All right. So you just need to go to the assets folders again, and then you just need to open here the middleware.ts, copy the content that is inside, and you can paste it right here. Okay. So basically what we're doing here is exporting a Clerk middleware. I already explained what this is going to do, and this is going to check if it's private. And basically the way that it checks is that it lists, we have here a list of things or a list of files. So here we have a list of pages that we consider as private. So for example, this /app is going to be private. So if the user is not authenticated, then we are going to protect this page. It's basically what we're doing here. Otherwise, this is going to redirect the user to the authentication page. right? Okay, so this is going to be pretty much it. And now to set up the actual authentication, we need to go to here to the root and create a new file, which is going to be .env. Okay, so head over to the dashboard. Okay, so you just need to click here on top on the navbar and click on dashboard. Okay, and now you just need to create an account, and you create here the application, and you can give the name that you want. I'm going to say Zoom clone like this. You can authorize the sign-in methods that you want. I'm just going to sign in with Google. If you want, you can authorize Discord, Twitch, TikTok, whatever, but I'm just going to go with Google. Okay, so now you can create here the application. Nice. Okay, so it gives you right here your credentials, so you just gotta copy this and paste it right here. Okay, make sure that you add your own credentials, because as I finish this project, I'll probably gonna delete my project, so you're not going to be able to let your app working with my credentials. All right, so this is going to be pretty much it for Clerk. And just below here, we need to create two more environment variables, which is going to be next public Clerk sign in fallback redirect URL. Okay, make sure you type this right, and it's going to be app. Okay, again, next public Clerk sign in fallback redirect URL. Make sure you spell that right. Okay, so you're going just to copy this one more time, and here inside of sign in is going to be sign up. Okay, so you're just gonna change this from in to up. All right, so as this says, as you can see, or as you can understand, this basically is going to redirect the user to here as the user signs in or signs up. All right, nice. From the list here on the app, and then you can go to the public. We are going to create a new public page, which is going to be get started. So let's say here get started is going to be the page, and inside of get started we are going to create here a new folder, which is going to be open brackets 2 times, and then rest, and then you can close 2 times again. Okay, and inside of this rest folder you can create here the page.tsx, and now use the rfc command again like this to create the page for you. So inside of this div we can create here a class name, which is going to be width of full, and then height of screen, and then flex item center, and then justify center. So this is basically centering everything. And inside of here we are going to use the sign in component from Clerk. Okay, believe it or not, this is for authentication. This is it for authentication. So now I'm going to close everything and head over to layout, and head over here to the app, and create here a new folder. And now you're going to be the private so this is going to be the private, and here inside of private I'm going to create the app, and inside of app I'm going to create again the app, but now with brackets. Okay, and now inside of app I'm going to create the page.tsx. Make sure here is inside of app there's the private, inside of private there's the app, and inside of app is app but now with brackets. Inside of app with brackets there's the page.tsx. Make sure that your file structure looks something like this. And now I'm going to create the rfc again and create the page, and then say this is a private page. Okay, so now let's see that working. So if I go to /app, which is a private page, which that technically I cannot be able to access. So let's see what happens when I go to localhost to /app. This is what happens. Clerk is going to take us to another URL so we can sign in. Okay, and this is the sign in page that we just created right here on get started. This is the sign in page that we created. It's this component that we are using here, and it's going to show up this right here. So we can click here, continue with Google, and sign in with the account that we want. So let me just verify that I'm a human being, and it's going to take us to this page, which is private. So let's see exactly what happens. So first I tried to access localhost 3000 / app, which is a private page, and I am doing this without being authenticated. And what happens is that I'm trying to reach the localhost 3000. Okay, this unauthenticated users trying to reach this localhost 3000 / app, which is a private page. And what happens is that it ran the middleware.ts before I go to the actual page. So what happens is that Clerk blocked our access. Okay, so he blocked our access and redirected us to the auth page. Okay, and then with this auth page, as we are signed in, and as we said here, the redirect URL, we are redirecting to the /app. Okay, so every time that we sign in or sign up, we're going to be redirected to this page. So this is exactly what happened here. As we are signed in, we are going to be redirected to the app page, but now we are authorized. Okay, so now Clerk actually let us access this page as we are authorized. So this is basically how authentication works with Clerk. Okay, all right, now that we have access to the private page, we can start making the actual private page. All right, so here inside of app, we're going to create a new file that is going to be layout.tsx. all right, so we're going to initialize this component with rfc, the command that we already have been using. All right, okay, so as you know, every layout has to accept a children. All right, and let me type this children, and the children is going to be react node. All right, and the only thing that we're going to do here is to put this children here inside. All right, so we actually have to put some other class names. So this is going to be height of, and this is going to be very interesting. So as you know, we can say height screen if we want. This is going to take 100% of the screen, but if we want a different value, what we can do is do a calculation, and Tailwind also allow us to do that. So it's going to be 100 VH, that's 100% of the screen, minus 81. So inside of this div, we're going to create here a new one, and this div is the one that is going to surround our children. And we're also going to give a class name of height of full, like so. And above this div, we're going to insert our navbar. There we go. So now we can see here our navbar showing up and the private page content also showing up. So here on the navbar, we're actually going to make some modifications. Okay, so here we are going to accept some props, and the props are going to be auth user. Okay, so if case we have some auth user. All right, so for now it's going to be the only prop that we're going to accept. And let me just type this prop. So auth user is going to be of type user that in the current moment we don't have it. So let's just create it. Here I'm going to create a new folder of services. This folder is going to be responsible to handle every service that we want. In this case, we want a service for the authentication. So let me create a auth folder, and inside of auth, I'm going to have the index.ts. all right, so here I'm going to export a type of user, and this type is going to have an image, which is going to be a string, a name, which is also going to be a string, or no, an email, which is going to be a string, and an ID, we're also going to be a string. Nice. So for now, this only thing that we need in this services folder, and we can now go back to the navbar and type this service off. Nice. Okay, so now this other variable, dummy variable that we had of show profile, now we can transform this into a real variable. Okay, so we are only going to show the profile if we have an authored user. Basically, those two exclamation marks are transforming this into a Boolean value, right? So going back right here on the bottom, so if we want to show a profile, in the case if we have a user, what we're going to do is add here a class name of flex items center gap of 4, and inside of here we're going to add a span, and this span is going to include the outfit user dot name. All right, so it's going to show the outfit user name, and also it's going to include some class names. So it's going to be font semi-bold and text muted foreground for some color, and also we're going to decrease the text size by saying text small. Okay, and we're also going to include an image. So this image is coming from Next.js. The source of this image is going to be outfit user dot, the width is going to be 40, the height is also going to be 40, the class name is going to be rounded full, and the out is going to be outfit user. Alright, so now we have here the profile, and now let's go back to the layout. Oh, and one more thing, we have to transform this into an optional prop. So it basically means that we don't have necessarily to pass this in order to navbar work. Okay, so here you can see that we can pass a prop that's the outfit user on the layout, and first to pass the outfit user, we need to actually get the outfit user. All right, so let me see here, outfit user. And now we have to go back to the services folder that we created, okay, in the auth folder, and here we are going to create a new function. Okay, so let me export an async function named get outfit user. All right, and one very important thing here is that we have to say here on the top use server. So what this is going to do is going to make sure that every function that is called inside of this file is going to run on the server. It doesn't matter if we call this function inside of a client component or a server component, it doesn't matter. It's always going to call this function on the server. Besides the security that is going to provide us, is also going to give us more faster response, right? So here's going to be get outfit user, and as you know, the thing or the service that is going to handle the authentication is Clerk. Okay, so what we have to do is basically call a function called current user. All right, this is coming from Clerk, as you can see, and from this we're going to get the Clerk user like this, and if there's not a Clerk user, then we are going to return null, so there's nothing to return. Else we can return a user. Okay, so here we're going to make some modifications. So our Clerk user is going to is going to have a model something like this. Okay, so here we're going to return an object that's going to satisfy user. All right, so now you can see that it's going to give us an error because the object that we have here is not satisfying the type of user. Okay, so we basically have to pass all of these properties in order this to stop giving us those errors. Okay, so the first one is the image, and the image is going to simply to be Clerk user image URL, simple as that. We're also going to have the name, which is going to be Clerk user dot full name, the email, which is going to be Clerk user dot email addresses. So we're going to get the first one and going to get the email addresses, and also the ID, which is going to be Clerk user dot ID. So as soon as we pass all of the properties coming from the type, this TypeScript is going to stop complaining. Very nice. So now we can go back to the layout, and now we can await get outfit user. Okay, so remember, this function is only going to be called on the server. All right, always the every time that we call get outfit user is going to run on the server. It doesn't matter if the component that we are calling it from is a client component or a server component, is always going to come from the server. All right, so here we're going to export the default async function, so we need this keyword in order to use the await. And finally, as we have the outfit user, we can pass it to the navbar. All right, so now navbar is giving us an error because outfit user can be null, as you can see. So the outfit user can either be of type user or of type null, but in our navbar we are not accepting that. So here we can say user or null. All right, so if you refresh the page, what you're going to see is an error from Next.js, because the image that Clerk is providing us is coming from this hostname, and Next.js doesn't allow us to use external hostnames. So what we have to do is to add a configuration on Next.config to actually accept we using external hostnames. All right, so let's go here to Next.config.ts, is on the root of your folder structure, and you can add here an image object and say here remote patterns, and then add here the host name of emg.clerk.com. okay, so basically we are saying to Next.js that we actually trust this host name. All right, so now if you do this, your service probably is going to close, so you have to reopen this again. Okay, so let's say just npm run dev and wait this to reopen. There we go, and now you can see that we have here the outfit user showing up. And if you go to localhost 3000, which is the home page, we can see here the sign in button, because we are not on the dashboard. Only the dashboard is going to show up this, because it's the only place where we pass the outfit user. Very nice. All right, so now let's create the actual dashboard for the user, and for this we are going to go to app, and then private, and then app, and then app, and then go to the page. Okay, so here in this div we are going to say class name of height, and again we're going to use the calc function from Tailwind. I mean, it's from CSS, but we can use it in Tailwind. So it's going to be 100 VH, that's the height of the screen, and then underline minus underline 70 pixels. So it's going to be 100% of the screen, but we're going to take 70 pixels. And then we can say flex item center, and then justify center, basically saying to center everything on the screen, and then bg gray of 50 just to add some color, and then px4 for some space. All right, so we can remove this is a private page, and insert a div inside. Okay, so this div is going to have the width of full, max width of 2xl, and space of y6. All right, and then we're also going to include the h1, which is going to say meetings, which is going to be text 3xl, font bold, and text center. Very nice. So below this h1 we're going to create here a div, which is going to say add the class name of rounded to excel, bg of white, p of 6, and shadow of medium. So this is what we get, and it's looking very, very nice. So do you remember this library? So here we're going to install the tabs component, which is this one. So we are going to use this command to install the tabs component. So it's going to be npx cn latest add tabs. Nice. So if it's done installing, and now inside of this div we are going to use it. So just say here tabs, and this is going to automatically search up the component for you. So it's going to be tabs, and then you can give here a default value. You're going to understand how this actually works. So here the default value is going to be create, and the class name is going to be width of full. All right, and then we're going to have the tabs list. Make sure they are all coming from components, not radix. Okay, so we're going to have the tabs list. Okay, so this is the list of tabs, and this tabs list you're going to have the width of full, grid goals 2, and margin bottom of full. Okay, and then we're going to have tabs trigger also coming from components, and this tabs trigger is going to say create a meeting. Okay, this is going to have the value of create. Okay, so we can copy this and put it down below, but now here's going to say join, and here also going to say join. All right, so now you can see here two buttons or two tabs that we can click over. All right, so this is not actually doing anything because we still have to do the tabs content. Okay, so here going to be tabs content. Nice, and here's going to have a value of create. Okay, so let me just say here for now create tab, and we can copy this and paste it just down below. But now here's going to be join, and here is going to be join, so join tab. Okay, so what happens is when we click in each of the tab, a specific content shows up, and this is happening because here on the create tab it has the value of create, and when we click on this trigger a content shows up that has the value of create. So it's showing here create a meeting when we click on create a meeting, and when we create and join a meeting it shows join tab. Very nice. Okay, so let's start by the create tab. So this is the tab where we can create meetings. Okay, and for this we're going to separate this into a component. So go to the app, okay, the app that has the brackets, and create a new folder which is going to be components. Inside of components we are going to have a new folder which is going to be create meeting, and inside of create meeting we're going to have the index.tsx. Okay, again, so components is going to be inside of app with brackets, and then we're going to have the create meeting, and inside of create meeting we are going to have the index.tsx. We're going to use the rfc command to create the component for us, and the name is going to be create meeting. So this is actually going to be a very large component, I'm not gonna lie, but we are going to start doing this from zero. Okay, so this is going to have a class name of max width of medium, mx auto, mt of 20, p of 6, bg of white, rounded to XL, shadow of medium, space of y6, like this, and then you're going to have an h2 saying create a meeting, like this, and also a class name of text 2XL, font bold, and text of center. Okay, so now let me just import this component inside of the actual content of the tab. So here I'm going to say create meeting and import this component inside of create, and hopefully we can see something showing up. Nice. Let me just decrease here the size so we can see what we are doing. And below here the h2 you're going to use the tabs component again. Okay, and it's going to have a class name of width of full, and inside of it we're going to have the tabs list, and the tabs list is going to have a class name of flex items center and gap of 2 and justify of center. Nice. Alright, so here we're going to have a tabs trigger. Nice. And it's going to have a class name of flex item center gap of 2 and justify center. Nice. Okay, make sure you import that justify trigger, and we are going to use a icon. Okay, so the icon is going to be pi video conference icon. Okay, so this is a component that we actually have. So this is a React icons component that we actually have to install. Okay, so to install we're going to go to our terminal and say npm install react icons like this. All right, and while this is installing we can keep working on the next steps, which is here we have just to say conference, and to solve this error that this is given us we can say here value of conference. Nice. Now that this is installed, the React icons, we can import the icon, which is pi video conference like this, and now we can just copy this and paste it down below. But now instead of conference it's going to be live stream. Okay, and here the value is also going to be live stream. Nice. And also we can change here the icon, which is going to be CG media live. Okay, and also make sure that you add the class name of text large on the both of the icons. Okay, so when you go back to the app you should see something like this. All right, okay, so now we can go to the next part, which is below here, the tabs, which is going to be a div. Okay, so we can add here a class name of flex column items center and gap of 4. Inside of this div we're going to have a button. Okay, so this component is actually installed already, and this button is going to have an on click, which is going to create a meeting. So we're going to call this handle this function in a minute. Okay, but we can create it right now. It's not going to do anything, it's just going to be here. So create a meeting, which is going to be just a function like this, so it's not going to give us any errors. Okay, and then we can add here a class name of width of full text of large. All right, like this. Okay, so here when we click on this button, what it's going to do is call this function create a meeting. Basically what this function is going to do is generate a meeting code or a room ID for us, right? Okay, and to do this we're going to create here one state, which is going to be room ID, and set room ID like this, which is going to be a use state that's going to start as no, can either be a number or no. So as you know, when we have a meeting either on Twitch or Google Meet or even on Zoom, it has to have an identification for each meeting or room, right? So here we have our room ID, which is going to be the responsible to identify each call. So when we click on create meeting, what we're going to do is set room ID, and what we're going to do is generate a random number. So in the project assets you're going to find here this folder, which is utils. What you can do is drag this folder into your project root. There we go, and now we have it here. So this folder is only going to include one file, which is going to be generate random number. Okay, so it's going to generate, as the name says, a random number for us, and is the function that we are going to use in this function of create meeting. Okay, so now we just have to call this generate random number function, okay, which is going to generate a random number for us. And then we can create one other state, which is going to be copy it, okay, and you're going to understand how that works. In a minute, and why we are going to need this state, okay, but for now it's going to be false. You have just created, and when we create a meeting that said copy it, it's going to be false. Okay, now that we are creating states, we can create here a new one, which is going to be type. So this is going to be the type of the call or the meeting that we are going to create. Okay, so here we set type, and it's going to be a use state that can either be of type conference or of type live stream. So as you know, our app can handle two types of calls, can either be conference or live stream, but in the default is going to be conference. Okay, so here in the tabs we just have to embed the state with the actual component. So here the value is going to be the type, and when we change the value of the tab, we can set the type of value, okay, and here we have to say as any, so TypeScript is going to stop complaining. All right, so we can actually not see anything because it's going to give us an error. So to fix this error, we just have to say here on the top use client, and the reason of that is because we are using states here, so states, React states, and also web events, which is on click. Okay, so we can only use those features when we are using client components. So we are basically transforming this into a client component. All right, nice. Okay, so now let's just fill the content of this button. Okay, so basically what we're going to do here is check if we have a room ID. If we have a room ID, basically we are going to say the meeting is created, because if we have a room ID, that basically means that we already have a meeting created. If not, we can create a meeting. Okay, and this button is going to be disabled every time that we have a room ID. Okay, besides the button, we are going to also show the actual room ID. Okay, so first we have to check if we have a room ID. Okay, and then here we are going to use this I don't know how this is called, but we're going to use this, and then we're going to create here a div inside. Okay, so this div is going to have a width of full, space y of 2, and also it's going to include a label. Okay, so this label is just going to say, so this is basically going to say share this room ID. So basically, if I have a friend that wants to enter to my meeting, basically what we're going to do is share this room ID to this friend so he can access. Okay, so this label also going to include some class names, and this is going to be text small and font of medium. And below this label, we're going to have the div. Okay, and this div is going to say flex item center and gap of 2. And inside of this div, we are going to have the actual input where we can see the content of the room ID. Okay, so this input is also a component that we have to import from shadcn. So let me say npx shadcn latest add input. Okay, so this is going to add the input component for us. There we go. Let me see if this is installed. If it is installed, so let me just import this. Okay, and the value of this input is going to be room ID. We're also going to add here a property of read only. That's going to only let us read the content, not change it. And the class name is going to be text center. Okay, so when we click here on create meeting, you're going to see here this input showing up with the room ID. Nice. Besides that, we're also going to have a button. Alright, and this button is going to have the variant of outline. Okay, it's also going to have the size of an icon, and then we're also going to have an on click of handle copy. Again, we are just going to create this function real quick here. So handle copy, we're not going to create anything on the function for now. We're just going to do it like this, so it's not going to give us any errors. And inside of the actual button, we're going to just have an icon of copy. All right, so it's coming from Lucid React. It's another icon library. So this copy is going to have a class name of width of 4, height of 4. Okay, below this div, we're going to have a dynamic block, which is going to check if it's copied. Then it's going to show a p tag of copied to clipboard. Nice. And also let me add here a class name of text green 500 and text small. All right, so you might already know how this is going to work. So every time that we click here on create meeting, it's going to show up this icon right here, and when we click, it's going to show a message down below. But this is not actually working because we haven't created this handle copy function, which is also going to be really easy. So if we have a room ID, what we are going to do is access the navigator and then clipboard, and then write a text of room ID to string, okay, which is basically add this to the clipboard of the navigator. Okay, so this is how actually we can copy things to clipboard. Okay, and then we can set copied as true. All right, and then we can create like a timeout. So I think I already know what this is going to do, which is going to set copied as false. So basically what this is going to do is after 2 seconds, it's going to set copied as false, right? So now let me just refresh the page. So now when we click on create meeting, if we click here on this icon, it's going to show, it's going to set copied as true, which is going to show up this text right here. And after 2 seconds, the set copied is going to turn false, which is going to hide it for us. So now let's see that working. Very nice. And you can see that when you click, it actually copies the value. Okay, so actually give us the content that is inside of this input. Really nice. All right, so now below this div, we are going to create here a button, and the variant is going to be outline. We can also pass this as child property and add a class name of width of full and text of large. Okay, so here we can also insert a link, and this is the thing that actually going to take us to the meeting. Okay, so we can even add here the href, which is going to be dynamic, so use those dynamic codes, which is going to take us to the app/meeting, and then we can pass here room ID, which is going to be the actual room ID. Okay, and the type of this room ID, and the type of we have to use this add symbol here to pass the type, and the type is going to be the type of the meeting. Okay, so it's either conference or live stream. Okay, right, so this component is actually done. We can move to the next one. So when we click here on join meeting, it's going to take us to another page which is not created yet. Okay, so we can create this page right now. It's going to be fairly easy. So inside of app, so inside of this app without brackets, we are going to create a new folder which is going to be meetings. So the reason why I like to use those folders is because I can organize the component as I want. So this is not going to interfere, create any interference in when it comes to pages routing. It's only for organization. So here it's going to be the actual app, and here is going to be the actual meetings. Okay, so here inside of meetings, we're going to create here a new folder which is going to be meeting, and inside of meeting, let me start by the layout. Okay, so layout.tsx, which is also going to be fairly simple. So we can even go to the other layout that we created not too long ago and copy it and put this inside of this layout. The only thing they're going to change is more here on the div. So here in the div, we're only going to say overflow hidden, and we don't need a surrounding div. We're just going to let the children right here inside. Okay, and we just need to go here to the navbar because we're also going to make some other changes. Okay, so here now our navbar is going to accept some other props. Okay, so they are going to be room ID and is meeting mode. Okay, that by default is going to be false. Okay, so let me just type those properties. So room ID is going to be a string or null, and it's going to be an optional property, so we can add this question mark. And also is meeting mode is also going to be optional, and is going to be a boolean. Okay, so this is actually going, as the name says, is going to be a state that's going to tell us if we are on a meeting. Then it's going to show us some things. Okay, so if we are on a meeting and we also have a room ID, then we are going to show a span. Okay, we're going to show a span with the class name of text small, font medium, and text muted foreground, and say here room ID, and then on strong we're going to say room ID. Nice. So you're going to see how that actually works in a minute. Let me just finish it real quick, and then here we can create another dynamic block. And if we are on a meeting mode, we're going to show something, and if we are not, what we're going to do is what we were showing before, which is this whole block right here. We can put it inside, and we need to create here those dynamic blocks and put this inside of here. Okay, and if we are on a meeting mode, then we are going to show other things. So basically it's going to be a button. So let me add just here a button, and this button is going to say back to app. It's going to have a variant of outline, and when we click, basically what we're going to do is go to the app. So we're going to call the window history.back, which is going to take us back to the home page. And below this button, we are going to just copy what we have here. So the show profile, we are going to copy, we're just going to copy this. Okay, and if we have the show profile as true, and we actually have an author user, then we are going to show the profile information. Okay, so it's going to be basically that for the navbar for a meeting. So now let me just go here and say is meeting mode as true. Simple as that. Okay, so you're going to see that in action in a minute. So let me just click here on create meeting and actually join this meeting. You're going to see a 404 because we haven't created this page yet. We just created the layout. So now let's just create here the page.tsx and then rfc. There we go, and nice. So here on the navbar, just make sure that this is a use client component, okay, because we have this button that has an on click function that has to be always in a client component. Okay, now you can see that we have this back to app button, and also here the profile showing up, and very nice. So this is actually working. Okay, so now let's just create the actual meeting interface, and you're going to see how easy this is going to be. Okay, so you have this app right here. What we have to do is create here a new component, which is going to be the actual room or the meeting if you prefer. So let me just say here room, and here on the page I'm just going to render this component of room. I'm just doing this because I don't like to set pages as client. I prefer doing client component as client instead. So here I'm just going to say use client on the room, and there we go. Okay, so to create an actual meeting, we have to know which room ID it is, right? And if it's either a conference or a live stream. Luckily, we have those informations right here on the URL. So we have here the room ID and also the type of the meeting. And to actually get those informations, we can use the params that is coming from use search params. Is a hook from Next.js. Okay, so first I'm going to get the room ID, which is going to be params.get room ID. Okay, so this is going to get us the room ID, and also the type, which is going to be params.get type, and we already know this type is either going to be conference or live stream. All right, nice. Okay, so now here on the JSX, what we have to do is return a main component or a main tab, and it's going to be a self-closing one because the content is going to be rendered by a reference. Okay, and we can create this container ref like this. We're just going to create it real quick. So container ref, and then it's going to be a use ref that's going to start as null, and this ref can either be, as you know, null or a HTML div element. Okay, so this is what going to be on the use effect. Okay, so use effect is a function that's going to be called every time that this component renders. So before this component actually after this component renders, is going to call this use effect function. Okay, so here we are going to check if type of window is not undefined. So basically what we are checking here is if we are on the app browser environment and the component was mounted, okay, just to make sure. And then we're going to check if we have a container ref. So basically we are checking if this component or this element was created, and then we're just going to check if we have a room ID and also the type. Okay, so we need all of those to check all of the things to actually create a meeting. And after that we are going to actually create the meeting. Okay, so here we just have to pass the room ID and type, and basically what it's going to do is every time the room ID or type changes, it's going to call this function again. Okay, so it's going to call first on the first render of this component, and then it's going to call every time the room ID or type changes. Okay, so here in the main, the only thing that we need to do is pass here a class name of width of full, and the style is going to be height of calc 100 VH minus 61 pixels. All right. So now it's going to be the actual function that's going to handle the creation of the meeting. So here on the services, you just need to go here down below. We are going to create a new service, which is going to be meeting. So this meeting is going to have an index.tsx. It's not tsx, it's just ts. My bad. We have to add some environment variables, but for now we're just going to pretend that they exist. So we are going to get the secret. We're going to have the server URL environment variable, which is coming from process.env.next public ZEGOCLOUD server URL. Also going to have the server secret, so server secret, which is coming from next public ZEGOCLOUD server secret, like this, and also the app ID, which is coming from ZEGOCLOUD and then app ID. Okay, as I said, these are not created yet, those environment variables. We are going to create it in a minute. All right. So, and then here we're going to export a let of create meeting ref. It's going to basically be a function, which is going to be async, like this. And here we're just going to accept an element, which is going to be HTML div element. Also a room ID, which is going to be string, and make sure that the D is lowercase, and also the type, which is going to be either conference or live stream. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do before creating a meeting is get the auth user. So we need to await get auth user. Okay, so this is coming from the auth service, and then if we don't have an element which is coming from the props, then we can return, because it's not going to be possible to create the meeting. And then we're also going to make some other validations. And then what we can do is get the auth user ID, which is going to be auth user.id, and also the auth user name. Okay, so we need those information to show on the meeting interface. And I'm going to make sure that auth user actually exists. So if it doesn't exist, then I'm going to return, or I'm going to throw a new error, which is going to say user is not auth. All right, which is going to be fairly impossible, because a user that is not authenticated cannot access this page, but just to make sure, you know. Okay, so with this we can create the token. So this token is going to be the one that is going to allow us to create the meeting, and for this we can use the Zego UI kit pre-built. So this is something that we actually have to import. So I just need to, so we need to install a component or a library that's going to be at Zegocloud / Zego UI kit / pre-built. Okay, so now let me just try to import it. Nice. And then we are going to call the generate kit for test. Okay, and we basically have just to pass all of the information that we already gathered. So it's going to be the app ID, it's going to be the server secret, it's also going to be the room ID, it's also going to be the author user ID, and the author user name. Okay, so make sure you pass all of those informations. And here's complaining because app ID can either be can be undefined. So first we can say here number, and if we don't have an actual app ID, it's going to be 0. Same thing for the server secret. We basically can say here that is never going to be undefined, and here is complaining about the user name can be undefined. So if we don't have alpha username, we can basically say unnamed user. Okay, so a user with no name. Okay, so now we can create the client for ZEGOCLOUD, and for this we need to pass the Zego UI kit prebuilt and create it, passing the token that we created before, and then we're going to have the modes that I was talking about. Okay, so we can switch between the types, and as you know, it can either be a conference. So if it's conference, then the mode is going to be Zego UI pre-built video conference, okay, which is the type. And then if not, then the case maybe it is the live stream. Okay, so here the mode is going to be Zego UI pre-built live stream. All right, so if nothing of those apply, then is simply going to be Zego pre-built conference, which is going to be the default value. So now this is actually the method that's going to allow us to join the room. Okay, so here just say join room. We have to pass here the container, which is going to be the element. Also have here the shared links, which is just need to pass here an object, and here we have to pass the name, which is going to be personal link, like this, and then the URL for the personal link, which is going to be window.location.origin plus the window.location.pathname plus the room ID plus the actual room ID plus the type equals plus the actual type. Okay, so this is going to be something like this. So it's going to be the origin, so localhost, and then the path name, so localhost 3000, and then the path name, which is going to be app/meeting, and then room ID. Okay, so room ID, which is going to be the actual room ID. So for example 123, and then the type, which is going to be something like conference. All right, so basically is we're going to create the shared links to be something like this. All right, and then here the scenario, so the scenario is going to be the mode. So here I'm just going to say, so here I'm going to just say scenario, which is the scenario that we're in, which is going to be the mode. So it can either be conference or live stream. And then something really cool is to show the avatar of each user. So for this we have to say on user avatar setter, we are going to get the user list, which is the list of users. And basically what we're going to do is check on each user. So it has to be async. We're going to see why in a minute. We are going to get the user, which is going to be consumed, and we're going to wait, and we have to call a function that we haven't created yet, so we're going just to create in a minute. So here on the services, we're going to create a new folder, which is going to be user, and this user is going to have index.ts. okay, so here we are basically using server, so this function is only going to be called on the server, and we're going to export an async function named get user by id, and we need to know which id is, so user id, which is going to be a string. Okay, so basically we are going to initiate Clerk client, so Clerk, we're going to wait Clerk to initiate, and then we are going to press look for the Clerk user, which is just have to await Clerk to go to the users table and look for a user with this specific ID. Okay, so now let's go back to the auth, and let me just copy what we have here because it's actually going to be the same. Okay, so here in the user we are going to return that, and we just have to import the user type from auth. Okay, so now let's go back to the meeting service, and here we just have to call the get user by id function that we just have created, and here we can pass the user id. All right, and then here we can say user dot set user avatar, and then there's going to be the actual user that we found, so here has to be question mark u.image. Okay, so basically what we are saying here is every time that we join the room, we want to set our image right here. So in the assets folder, you're going to find this join meeting component, and what you have to do with this component is go here where we have the create meeting component, and you just gotta import this alongside the create meeting. Okay, so it's going to be create meeting and then join meeting. This is actually going to be a fairly easy component to the join meeting tab. All right, so the only thing that's going to complain about is that we don't have this label imported yet, so we're going to say npx shadcn latest add label. It's going to create the label for us. We don't need to worry about anything else. Let me just here say use force right here, and there we go. Okay, so now we just need to go to the app, and here instead of join tab, we are going to import the actual join meeting component. Okay, so now let me just go to the actual app, so localhost 3000/app, and when you go to the join meeting tab, this is what you should be seeing. Very nice. So you might be wondering how we are going to use this function right here that we just created. Well, we are going to use it inside of this room component. Okay, so after checking all of this, if we have a window, if we have a container, if we have a room, if we have a type, what we're going to do is call the create meeting ref, the function that we just created, and pass the specific information. So container ref dot current, and then we're going to pass the room ID and also the type. And we have to do some validations here. Beside the checking if we don't have an element, we have to check if type of window is undefined, and if type of document is also undefined. All right, and I actually forgot to add the environment variables, so let's go here and say .env, and add the actual environment variables so that the env is actually created yet. So we just need to pass those environment variables. So let me just copy them into here, and then this to here, and this to here. All right. Okay, so to get this information, we need to go to the Zegocloud website, and as we are here, I can show you the UI kits that they offer. Okay, so as you can see, they offer components, ready to use, easy customization, cross-platform. That means that we can use in Windows, Linux, in your Android or Apple devices. We can use in whatever we want. It's also open source. It has more than 20 UI kits, also more than 50 components, and it's really great to use. You're going to see how we are going to use it in a minute. You're going to see how easy it is to implement. We just need the token, initiate the Zegocloud, and then we can join the room. Easy as that, as you can see, and we can use whatever we want. Okay, so let's just use it. So you have to sign up first. Okay, so here you have to add your first name, last name, country, region, your work email. If you don't have, you can put your personal one, and then it's going to give you a personal code which is going to go to your email, and you just have to pass your password. So I already have an account, so I'm going just to log in real quick, and after logging in, you are going to get 10-minute call for free. Okay, so this is really good for development to test application, and this is the plan that we're going to use. Okay, so just head over to projects, and in here you just have to click on create. Okay, so we're going to create a new project. We can select here video conference, so as we are going to use, and then the project name is going to be Zoom Clone. All right, really nice. And here we can say start with UI kits, and this is going to create this project for us. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we are going to get there. You can select here for web, and let me just open here all the way so we can see everything. And here we can just say save and start to integrate. So here we're going to have the information that we need. Okay, so the server URL, we don't really need it. We just need the app ID, so we can copy this, and also the serve secret, and paste it right here. Okay, so this is only the information that we need to make this actually work. So now let's go back to localhost 3000/app. So one thing that I forgot to do is add the Clerk provider, so we can actually have access to the authent user. And to do this is going to be fairly easy. It's actually my mistake, but we can fix it real quick. You just go here to the layout, the main one, the first layout is going to appear here, and we can say here Clerk provider. Okay, and put the children here right inside. Okay, we just need to import this, and there we go. So now let me just test. So first, of course, it's going to ask me to log in, and then ask an account for me to log in, and then I'm going to join here a meeting. So again, let me copy here the room ID, and then click on join meeting, and there we go. Now if I click here on join, now you can see that now I can see here 2 people inside of the meeting, and very nice. Besides the video calling, I can also do I can show here my screen if I want to. If I can do here like screen sharing. I can also here add messages. So if I say like hi, okay, you can see here that the other people can see the message that I sent. So this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the project, and I see you in the next one.